My department threw a farewell party for a coworker who had bullied me for a year. We'll miss your tough love. Someone laughed. I just dropped off a gift bag with a USB drive, a letter, and a note that said, "You might want to read this before starting your new job." Especially the part about, "It started with a joke." Or at least that's what everyone else called it when Sasha made fun of my stutter in a morning meeting. It was early October last year. I'd only been at Hawthorne Logistics in Naperville, Illinois, for about 3 weeks. New city, new job, new everything. I didn't want to rock the boat. So when she mocked how I introduced myself and called me Captain in front of the team, I forced a laugh. So did everyone else. But that laugh, it stuck in my throat like a fishbone I couldn't swallow or cough up. Sasha was a senior logistics coordinator, which apparently meant she'd been there longer than the rest of us. She wasn't even my boss, just loud enough to seem like she was. She had a way of being everywhere and knowing everything. And for the next year, she made my life a quiet hell. I was 38. This wasn't my first job, but something about that office culture. It reminded me of middle school. Sasha ruled the floor with sarcasm, gossip, and fake smiles. And if you didn't play along, she'd turn on you. It wasn't just teasing. She'd joke that I must be slow because I double-checked order details. She'd accidentally forward my mistakes to upper management. She once called my emergency PTO cute after my dad had a heart attack. And every time I tried to defend myself, she'd smirk and say, "It's just tough love, babe. You want to survive here, don't you?" The worst part? Nobody said anything. Not management, not HR, not even the quiet coworkers who saw everything. They just shrugged, looked down, and moved on. Sasha brought donuts on Fridays. She remembered birthdays. She was the funny one, a real personality, and people liked having her around. Or maybe they just didn't want her coming after them instead. I held it together for months, until I couldn't, until I started leaving the office to cry in my car, until I stopped eating lunch altogether just to avoid the break room, until I started taking antacids with my coffee just to get through the day. Then 6 months in, something changed. It started with an email. I had opened a shared Google Sheet from the supply chain team. And by mistake, I saw a comment thread that was never meant for my eyes. Someone had forgotten to change permissions, and I saw a string of messages from Sasha to another coworker, Ethan, laughing about how I still dressed like a substitute teacher, and how HR was probably tired of my dumbass sob stories. There it was, in writing, time-stamped, petty, cruel, stupid. I screenshotted it. I didn't report it. Not yet. Instead, I made a folder. I started saving everything. Emails, Slack messages, call recordings, legal in Illinois since the one-party consent state, even photos of things she left on my desk, like the time she gifted me a pacifier with a sticky note that said, "For your next HR meeting." Every time I felt weak, I added another piece to that folder. It took 8 more months, 8 months of tough love, as they like to call it, of watching her succeed, joke, get praised in team meetings. 8 months of her putting people down and getting away with it. Then the news came in July. Sasha was leaving. She landed a dream job in corporate with a bigger company in St. Louis. Everyone buzzed about it. She got a big farewell lunch, cake, balloons, the works. Even our director came down to give a speech about her bold personality and how she always spoke her mind. "We'll miss your tough love," someone laughed. She cried during a toast, hugged people, took selfies. I didn't go to the party. Instead, I worked through lunch, printed one last document, and walked to her desk just after things quieted down. She was still saying her goodbyes, laughing with someone near the elevator. I left a simple white gift bag on her chair. Inside, a USB drive, a sealed letter, a yellow sticky note on top that read, "You might want to read this before starting a new job, especially the part about your Slack history from March 14th. I left early that day. The next morning, I got a call from HR, then another from legal. By noon, Sasha's LinkedIn post about her exciting new chapter had been deleted. And that company in St. Louis? I checked. Her name was quietly scrubbed from their new hires announcement. Apparently, her offer had been rescinded. A little bird, a former classmate of mine who worked at that company, said someone had forwarded a folder full of documentation, verified, dated, matched with screenshots, emails, and Slack logs. The letter I included, it was short, professional. "This is not for me. This is for every quiet person you humiliated. This is for every apology you never gave. You told me once that you wanted to make people tougher. Maybe now you'll learn what it feels like to be on the other side of your games. They never told me exactly what happened to her job prospects after that, but I didn't need them to. I already knew. At work, there was silence. No announcement. No wrap-up. No closure. Sasha just disappeared. The only acknowledgement was a group email the next week from upper management, reminding staff of the company's zero tolerance for harassment, and a new mandatory workplace culture training session being scheduled. People acted like they didn't know why, but I saw the shift. Coworkers stopped making comments at my expense. Some started saying hi in the break room. One even quietly thanked me without saying what for. And me? I started eating lunch again. 2 weeks after Sasha disappeared from Hawthorne Logistics, I started to feel off. It wasn't guilt. It wasn't relief either. It was like I'd kicked a wasp nest I didn't see until after the fact. At first, things at work were smooth. Too smooth. People were being polite. Too polite. HR stopped breathing down my neck about collaboration attitude. I was no longer the odd one out. But something about the way Ethan looked at me during meetings told me the storm wasn't over. His smiles were tight. His jokes stopped. Then came the whispering. Quiet little comments when I passed by. Laughter that stopped the moment I walked into the room. One morning, I opened my locker and found a scrap of paper folded like a fortune cookie. Hope the next one doesn't say something you don't like. No name. No handwriting I recognized. I tore it up and flushed it down the toilet. But I couldn't ignore what it meant. Someone, maybe more than one, thought I went too far. Maybe they were friends with Sasha. Maybe they just didn't like that I had the guts to finally stand up for myself. I didn't care what they thought, but I did care when I saw my name left off a meeting invite I was supposed to attend. When I was accidentally left off the group project rotation. When I started getting feedback about being hard to work with from a manager who had never even spoken to me directly. It was subtle, but it was growing. I started writing it all down again, just like I had with Sasha. This time, the list wasn't about one person. It was about the patterns and the people who stayed quiet. Then out of nowhere, Sasha messaged me. On Facebook, I hadn't even realized we were connected. Her profile picture was gone. Just a gray silhouette. The message said, "You think you won? You think they're going to protect you? Watch your back." I didn't respond. Instead, I printed it out and added it to a new file folder I kept in my drawer at home. 2 days later, I was called into HR. The woman who met with me, Denise, was all fake smiles and concerned energy. She told me there had been anonymous concerns raised about my behavior. "Some team members feel you're creating a hostile environment," she said gently, like she was afraid I might cry. I didn't cry. I just looked at her and asked, would these be the same anonymous concerns that popped up right after Sasha's departure? Her face changed. Slightly. She pretended not to notice. I pulled out a small notebook, opened it, read off 4 dates where I had been left off required meetings. 2 Slack threads where someone deleted comments mocking me minutes after posting them. And then I slid a printed copy of Sasha's Facebook message across the table. "Is this the kind of hostile behavior you're referring to?" I asked calmly. Denise didn't say much after that. The next day, I was told to work from home until further notice. No suspension, no disciplinary write-up, just remote work for my mental health. That's when I realized they wanted me quiet, not gone, just not visible, not in a way. They didn't want more drama, not after Sasha, not with legal already watching. I was a liability now, not because I did anything wrong, but because I proved I could fight back. So I played along, worked from home, smiled in every Zoom, answered emails fast, clean, perfect. But in the background, I got serious. I filed a formal complaint with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, detailed, chronological, with copies of every screenshot, email, photo, and chat I'd saved over the last year and a half. I named names, not just Sasha, but Ethan, my manager Paul, Denise from HR. I also reached out to an attorney who specialized in hostile work environments. He was blunt, told me it might take months, maybe longer, but I didn't care anymore. I'd already waited this long. I wanted more than revenge now. I wanted a record. I wanted protection. and I wanted truth. While the case moved forward quietly, something strange happened. I started getting emails from other employees from different departments. Not logistics, not my floor. Some of them were interns, some full-time. All of them had stories. All of them had been quietly pushed out or humiliated under Sasha's tough love umbrella. One woman, Carla, said Sasha had pressured her into staying late every week, threatening to call her lazy if she didn't comply. A young guy named Malik had been screamed at in front of the team for calling in sick twice during flu season. He left the company 2 months later, broken and angry. I asked them if they'd be willing to talk to my lawyer. They said yes. A month into remote work, I got a package in the mail. No return address. Inside, a plain USB drive, just like the one I gave Sasha. I hesitated, then ran it on an old laptop. There were files, PDFs, screenshots, a few saved voicemails. But what made my stomach flip was the video folder. It was a screen recording from a Teams meeting. Ethan, Paul, another guy I didn't know. They were laughing, joking, talking about how HR was tired of all the crybabies lately. Then Ethan said something I'll never forget. Sasha was just the enforcer. Now we got rats crawling out. If we don't shut this down, we're going to be the next ****ing Google article. I sat there, hands cold, heart pounding. They weren't just talking about me. They were talking about a whole system they'd kept quiet for years. It wasn't just Sasha. She was the face of it. But the machine was bigger. That's when it hit me. I wasn't fighting one bully. I was dragging a rotten system into the light. And if that system was already scared enough to start mailing anonymous USBs, that meant I was getting close. A week after I got the anonymous USB, I was called back into the office. No explanation, just a short email from Denise in HR. We'd like to meet in person to discuss next steps and support options. Please come on Monday at 9 a.m. Support options? That felt loaded. My lawyer told me to go, but not alone. So I didn't. He came with me. His name was Glenn. Early 50s, ex-military type, the kind of guy who didn't say much but made people nervous when he did. He wore a dark gray suit and a pin that said Veterans for Workers' Rights. When we walked into the HR conference room, the mood changed fast. Denise was there. So was Paul, my manager, and a man I didn't recognize who introduced himself as corporate counsel. His name was David Marks, and he looked like he hadn't slept in 2 weeks. The second he realized I had brought an attorney, he went stiff. Glenn didn't say a word. He just placed a thick folder on the table, sat down and waited. Denise tried to start things off light. We just want to reset, open a new page, she said. We realized tensions have been high. I stayed silent. Paul cleared his throat. Look, I know things weren't perfect before, and Sasha's style wasn't for everyone, but we're making changes. We want to make sure everyone feels included. Glenn finally spoke. Are you aware of the pending EEOC complaint? Silence. David blinked. We are. Yes. That's part of why we're here today. That's when it all clicked. They weren't calling me in to help. They were trying to contain me. They knew about the complaint. They knew I had documentation. And now, thanks to whoever sent that USB, they probably suspected I had even more than they thought. David leaned forward. We're open to settlement. If this is about moving forward and healing, we'd like to offer a clean break, severance, a letter of recommendation, and full benefits for 6 months. I stared at him. He wanted to leave quietly. He hesitated. We're offering a solution that works for everyone. No, I said. Glenn added, this isn't about a payout. It's about accountability. Then I pulled out my phone, hit play on the video I'd ripped from a USB, the one where Paul and Ethan joked about shutting down complaints. Paul's face went red. Denise's eyes widened. David leaned forward again, now clearly rattled. Where did you get that? I didn't break any laws, I said calmly. Let's just say someone in your system decided to do the right thing. That meeting ended fast after that. They said they needed to review internally. Told us they'd follow up. As Glenn and I walked out, he patted my back. You just moved the board. Let's see how they play. That night, I got a call from Carla, one of the ex-employees I've been talking to. She was crying. They found me, she said. Someone called my new job and said I'd been part of a workplace drama. They didn't give details, just hinted I was unstable. My stomach sank. 2 days later, Malik messaged me. Same thing. Got pulled into a meeting about my internet behavior. I've never even posted about Hawthorne. They were trying to poison the witnesses. Glenn wasn't surprised. He called it soft retaliation. Said it was common, cowardly, but common. We gathered statements, added everything to the growing case file. By mid-September, the EEOC officially opened a formal investigation. That's when things got real. I got a call from a former senior manager, Mike, who had left Hawthorne 2 years earlier. He'd heard about what was happening through someone on LinkedIn. He wanted to talk. I met him at a diner in Bolingbrook. Cheap coffee. Quiet booth. Mike looked tired, like someone who had carried something for too long. They covered for Sasha more than once, he told me. There were complaints. Real ones. They just never went anywhere. He pulled out a printed email. It was from 2022. A woman, now gone from the company, had filed a complaint about Sasha humiliating her in front of a client. Paul's reply was short and cold. Sasha has a unique leadership style. If it's not a fit for everyone, perhaps this isn't the right environment. He slid the email over to me. Keep it, he said. I should have done more when I was there. That night, I added it to the folder. Then the worst thing happened. I got doxxed. I came home on Friday and saw my windshield smashed. A note tucked under the wiper. This is what happens when you make trouble. My mailbox was stuffed with fake magazine subscriptions. One night, I got a pizza delivery I never ordered. The guy looked confused when I didn't know what he was talking about. And someone had posted my home address online under a fake name in a revenge on ex-coworkers thread on some underground forum. It felt like everything was closing in. I told Glenn. He got the police involved. We filed a report, but the detective told me the same thing I already knew. These guys are cowards. They'll poke at you from the shadows and run. But if you keep going, they'll fold. I didn't stop. Neither did Glenn. We added every piece of evidence to the EEOC case. And then the twist I didn't see coming. A woman reached out to me. Her name was Haley. She said she worked in IT at Hawthorne, not directly with me, but she knew my name from recent urgent requests made by corporate. She was quiet, careful. We met once at a bookstore. She was nervous the entire time. I think they're destroying evidence, she said. I saw deletion requests, old emails, Teams recordings, chat logs, stuff that should have been archived by policy. She showed me a screenshot she wasn't supposed to take. It was an internal request to scrub Sasha's shared drive access. But the date? It was weeks before her official departure. They'd known. They'd prepped for fallout. They were trying to bury the past before I could drag it into the light. I handed it to Glenn. He smiled for the first time. Now, he said, we're cooking with gas. The next week, everything exploded. EEOC subpoenas were issued. Hawthorne's name hit a local news article in Chicago. Logistics firm under investigation for workplace harassment claims. An anonymous Reddit post went viral. Someone, not me, not Glenn, posted a detailed timeline of Sasha's abuse, the retaliation, the threats, and the cover-up. It got over 30,000 upvotes in 24 hours. Suddenly, Hawthorne wasn't just dealing with internal PR. They had public eyes on them now, and the wolves started turning on each other. Paul took a leave of absence. Ethan's LinkedIn went dark. Denise removed all her work history and made her profile private. Inside sources told me they were lawyering up, and senior management had launched an internal investigation to see who dropped the ball. Funny thing about that? When people like Sasha run the show for years, they leave stains everywhere. People remember. People talk. People save things. It took 6 more months for everything to come to a head. 6 months of interviews, document reviews, depositions, and watching Hawthorne logistics crumble from the inside out. But I waited. I kept going to therapy. I kept working part-time for a new employer who actually treated people like human beings. I kept my head down, but my eyes open. Then in April, the EEOC called. Their investigation was complete. They found systemic harassment, failure to act on multiple formal complaints, and a pattern of retaliation, especially involving Sasha, Paul, and HR. They offered me the choice, settle, or move forward with a federal suit. But Glenn was already ahead of him. With the evidence we had, we could go farther than a settlement. We didn't just want money. We wanted accountability. So we went public. Local media outlets picked it up, then national. Whistleblower exposes widespread harassment at Illinois logistics firm. My name was in the article. Not hidden, not anonymous. I knew what that meant. I knew some people would call me a troublemaker. Others would say I was just out for cash or fame. But it wasn't about that. It was about the truth. And what happened next? That part, that's where karma finally showed up. Paul, my old manager, was fired without severance. His HR records were leaked during the investigation. Not by me, but by someone else inside. Turns out, he'd covered for Sasha multiple times. Even helped alter complaint logs to protect her. When the press came knocking, he panicked. His wife filed for divorce less than a month later. She cited reputational damage and dishonesty. I heard through a mutual connection that their teenage son refuses to speak to him now. Ethan tried to play dumb, claimed he was just part of the team, and didn't know what Sasha was doing. But then someone leaked his Slack messages, the ones where he joked about breaking the new guy and crushing snowflakes. The messages got posted online, went viral. He lost his job. His new employer pulled the offer after seeing the article. I got an email from a burner account a few weeks later. Just one line, "You ruined my life." No name, no reply. Good. Denise, the HR manager, was the most pathetic of them all. She cried during the EEOC mediation, claimed she was just following orders. But emails showed she helped silence multiple complaints, encouraged employees not to go to legal, and even deleted files after Sasha left. Her entire department was restructured. She was let go without cause but was blacklisted quietly. Nobody in HR wants to hire the woman who helped bury abuse. And Sasha? That's the part everyone keeps asking me about. What happened to her? After her job offer in St. Louis was pulled, she vanished for a while, deleted her social media, went offline. Then a month after the EEOC report went public, a friend sent me a link. She had created a new online coaching business. Sasha Ray, Workplace Toughness Consultant. The tagline? Teaching you how to lead without apologizing. I laughed so hard I nearly choked. But then I read the reviews. Dozens of 1 stars. Most of them written by people who had worked at Hawthorne. Some copied her quotes word for word, her bullying lines, and posted them as testimonials. The site was taken down a week later. I heard she moved back in with her parents in Indiana. Then one day I got a letter in the mail. No return address, but I knew the handwriting. Inside was a single sheet of paper. You win. I lost everything. Are you happy now? I folded it neatly and put it in a drawer. Not because I cared, but because it proved something. She never learned a thing. She still thought it was a game. Still thought I wanted revenge just to win. She never understood it was never about her. It was about everyone like her. The EEOC helped push Hawthorne to settle. They paid out a 6-figure amount, not just to me, but to 6 other former employees who had joined the complaint. Publicly, they issued a press release full of corporate buzzwords. New training systems, leadership restructuring, zero tolerance policy. But privately, they were bleeding talent. No one wanted to work there anymore. No decent manager would touch them. I heard from Haley, the woman from IT, that 3 departments had been outsourced. The building was half empty. As for me, I moved out of Naperville, took a new job with a nonprofit that helps people file workplace abuse claims. I talk to people like me every day, people who are told to toughen up or stop being sensitive, or just laugh it off. And I tell them what I wish someone had told me earlier. You don't have to play along to survive. You don't have to let them win just to keep your job. And you're not weak for telling the truth. My life is quieter now, still healing, still rebuilding. But every time I open that drawer and see that letter from Sasha, I remember exactly why I did it. I didn't burn her life down. She built it on gasoline. I just handed her the match.